All right. Today, we're going to dive into one of the most unsettling, most genuinely chilling characters ever put to paper. Arkady Ivanovich Svidrigailov from Dostoevsky's masterpiece, Crime and Punishment. And we're starting with this quote because, really, it just hits you, right? It gets to the absolute core of who this guy is. Svidrigailov isn't some distant historical villain. No, he's the ghost of a choice we all face. That terrifying possibility of what happens when you just switch it all off, when you choose total emptiness over feeling pain.
So to really get Svidrigailov, you've got to see him for what he is. He's the dark mirror to our protagonist, Raskolnikov. See, Raskolnikov spends the whole novel agonizing, theorizing, wondering what it would be like to step beyond good and evil. Svidrigailov? He doesn't wonder. He's already there. And he's just waiting.
And this is what's so unnerving about him. He doesn't show up looking like some kind of monster. No, he's elegant, he's calm, wealthy, almost bored as he just floats through the city. But that perfectly composed exterior is just a mask. Underneath, he's a man who has completely died inside. He's a ghost in expensive clothes.
And this is where you see the huge gap between the two. On one side, you've got Raskolnikov. He's all theory, all fever and delirium. He desperately needs this grand ideology about being a great man to justify what he did. He dreams of being a Napoleon. And then you have Svidrigailov. He's the reality of that dream. He's ice cold. He needs no ideology, no excuse for anything he does. And power, the very thing Raskolnikov craves, Svidrigailov is just bored by it.
And that boredom, it comes through in this one absolutely crushing line. When Raskolnikov finally confesses his great man theory, Svidrigailov just sort of shrugs and says this. It's not mean, it's not judgmental, it's worse. It's the casual observation of a man who sees right through Raskolnikov's grand delusions and realizes he's not special. He's just another cliché.
So you have to ask yourself, what is going on inside this guy's head? Let's try to do an anatomy of his nihilism. Because he's not just immoral, he's post-moral. He's like a perfectly built machine that's just missing one single part, the moral break.
And this is key. His brand of nihilism isn't about, burning the world down. It's way colder, way more calculated than that. It's a conscious decision. His mind is perfectly sharp. It works just fine. It's just that, at some point, he took a pair of scissors and very deliberately snipped the wire that connects thought to conscience.
And when you see how this plays out, man, it's just this terrifying inner void. Mentally, he's brilliant. He sees people's motivations with a clarity that's genuinely scary. But emotionally, there's nothing there. A total vacuum. If he does something kind, it's not from goodness, it's a whim, like a bored god amusing himself. And passion? Oh, it's there. But it's a volcano of pure possession. The second he can't have what he wants, the fire just goes out. Instantly.
Okay. So where does all this lead? Because a life like this, a life with no moral breaks, it doesn't end in some blaze of glory or freedom. It leads somewhere much, much darker. It leads to a profound, soul-crushing fatigue.
I mean, his backstory is just a list of absolute horrors. But the thing is, you look at these crimes, and the way he treats them, they're just events that happened. There was no struggle, no passionate rage. And the detail that tells you everything, the part that's just so chilling, is that last one. He slept perfectly through it all. No nightmares, no guilt, just silence.
So what does the afterlife look like for a guy like this? You might think fire and brimstone, right? Nope. Dostoevsky gives us something so much worse. When Svidrigailov imagines eternity, this is what he sees. Not some grand punishment, just endless, grubby, disgusting boredom. It might be the most terrifying vision of hell ever written, because it's so small.
Which brings us to his end. And the reason he finally pulls the trigger, it's not what you think. It's not some last-minute attack of conscience. He never feels a drop of remorse. No. Scholars call it aesthetic fatigue. And it's exactly what it sounds like. He has seen everything, done everything, and it's all become tasteless. He's simply bored of being alive.
So why are we still talking about this guy? I mean, it's a 150-year-old book. It's because he's not just a character. He's a warning. He's the embodiment of a shadow that Dostoevsky argues is lurking somewhere inside all of us.
Because let's be honest, Svidrigailov is the voice of that little question that can pop into our heads on our worst days, isn't it?
He represents that cold, logical part of the brain that asks, really, is all this right and wrong stuff just a story? Something people invented to feel safe? He's the man who decided to find out.
Yep, that's his whole philosophy in a nutshell. It's that seductive and terrifyingly simple whisper, the purely transactional worldview. If there are no external consequences, if I can get away with it and it benefits me, why not? But this is the genius of Dostoevsky's warning. The punishment for living like Svidrigailov isn't getting thrown in jail. The consequences aren't external. The real price, the true hell, is what happens inside. You hollow yourself out, piece by piece, until you become exactly what he is, a dead man still walking.
And that's really where we have to end. His suicide, it wasn't a punishment. It was a destination. It was the final, logical step to achieving the perfect, eternal silence that his soul had already been living in for years. And it leaves us with one hell of a question. What is the real price for that kind of peace? What is that silence actually worth?